Okay, it's Friday, March 8th, and I'm out at one of my favorite places, which is the Monahan Sandhills State Park. Got my pack set up. I want to talk a little bit about my pack. This is my pack. It's an Osprey Atmos 65, and you can see I've got it loaded. That big tripod strapped on the side there may or may not be actually going on the trip this summer. I think I'm gonna order me a little lighter, smaller one. But anyhow, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the pack. So let me undo this tripod right here, and we'll see if it's capable of supporting. And of course, there goes the backpack upside down on the ground. But we'll see if it's capable of supporting my huge GoPro here. And so, grab the pack again. And this is one of the fun things about being at the Sandhills. Now my whole pack is covered with sand. So, the Atmos 65, it's an internal pack frame. Down here I have sleeping bag, air pad, and everything like that. Got my little raincoat for the thing. I'll go over sometime what's inside the pack. It's got a really unique suspension system on it, and kind of unique. It's got this mesh right here which keeps the pack off your back a little bit. And in Texas it gets pretty hot while we're out backpacking, and it's always nice to have some breathing and stuff to, you know, keep the air separated off of you and stuff. Got my hydration right here where I have yucky Odessa water, but I drink the stuff. So I have no idea where my phone's at right now. I hope it's not lost. But I have a battery up here in the top, and I can put my phone down in this little side pouch here. These little side pockets on the sides of the belt on an Osprey Atmos are famous for being useless. They really made them kind of too small to put anything in it. You really can't stuff like trail mix or anything like that in it. So about all I keep in there is I keep my phone and a map. And anyhow, it's a pretty cool pack. The suspension is super comfortable for an internal frame. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a huge fan of internal pack frames. I carried an Alpenlight that was made back in the 70s, an external pack frame, for a long time. And it's a really great pack, and it's super, super comfortable. Has this belt that fastens over this hip pointers and everything. And, their motto was, let your hips shoulder the load. And you could literally take the shoulder straps off and just hold the pack like this and walk with it, and just let the entire weight of the thing ride on the hip belt. This thing's not so much. It does put some downward pressure on your shoulders up there and everything. It's not just one that's just pressing straight back in it like the old external frames did. Okay, I'm now walking, carrying my pack down the road at the Sandhills. I'm not sure how much off-road I'm going to do with this big old pack. It's kind of a neat walk. I'm a super big Star Wars fan, and let me tell you, one of the things Star Wars does, though, that's kind of a little annoying to me, is these planet-wide ecosystems. So, you go the forest moon of Endor, or the ice world of Hoth, or, desert planet Tatooine, or something like that. Actually, in reality, I doubt we'll ever find a planet where they have one ecosystem for the entire planet. That's just not really a sustainable idea. And the thing about it is ecosystems hinge upon just the littlest of things. Right here, for example, there's a strip where back in the days when this was a shallow inland sea, the sediment washed out of rivers and stuff and piled up as sand. And anyway, what we have left is a big long area after you drop off the cap rock of pretty sandy soil. And because of the geology of this, the you know, it's set up some special challenges. In other words, you know, this soil doesn't hold water, so you got to have plants with really super deep roots and stuff like that. Okay, what you see off out to the side here is a really short plant called shin oak. It's kind of a knee-high oak tree, has acorns and all of that stuff. The deer can browse on it when it's got leaves and stuff. You also see a lot of this, which is a member of the like yucca family or something, and it grows everywhere. They have a big old thorn out on the end of them. You'll notice these trees, some of them have some pretty impressive trunks for the fact they're only 3 or 4 feet tall, and you catch one of those under the undercarriage of your Jeep and it'll rip the whole underside out. But one of those desert plants, there's probably 10 times as much tree underground as there are above ground. This specimen right here is a honeybean mesquite tree. The beans of these have a lot of sugar in them, and supposedly the pioneers could boil these down and extract the sugar and drink like a sugar tea that would survive them over if they were starving because they'd gotten out here with no food. There's 2 types of mesquite trees. There's the screwbean mesquite tree and the honeybean. And right now, to be honest, if I didn't already know these were all honeybeans, there's no way I can tell the 2 of them apart just by looking at the dormant tree. That usually when you start seeing leaves on a mesquite tree, winter is officially over with. You can see these dunes. I don't know how much this wide angle lens catches the height of the dunes and stuff, but they're about maybe 25 to 35 feet tall, and they got a lot of grass growing on them. This is a misguided conservation attempt back in the 70s, and they planted a bunch of tobosa weed and stuff like that to kind of try to hold down West Texas. And okay, right here is a big old brush pile that the State Highway Department piles up. These are really cool because, you know, they trimmed all the brush back off the road, and so they just heaped it up right here. And you know, being West Texas, this thing's probably going to be chock plumb full of rattlesnakes here in about another month, if it's not already full of them. And you could probably get down there and poke around right now and pull 15 or 20 of them out of that pile. And so I'm not going to get up there and poke around it. You'll notice this mesquite tree right here, I'll walk up toward it a little bit though, is covered in thorns. And it's pretty common. Every plant in West Texas is this way. If you live in a desert ecosystem, you got to prevent your, you know, some kind of defense for things not eating you. And thorns is one of the best defenses all the plants have. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt or somebody like that said Texas is like going to hell. Everything has thorns, stings, pokes, or bites you. And that's pretty much the truth. But, you know, I'm not trashing on Texas, don't get me wrong. I've lived here a good chunk of my life. You know, I go 3 or 4 generations back in Texas and stuff, and this is kind of home for me. So, you know, I was thinking about this summer when I actually get out on my trip and stuff. There's going to hit this magical point somewhere about 2.5, 3 weeks into the trip where, you know, I'm going to go, wow, this is the longest I've been outside the state of Texas since 1968. And I'm probably going to get all funky and stuff because I have no idea what happens when you take a Texan outside of Texas for longer than, you know, a couple of 2 or 3 weeks. We probably start molding or something, turning into Yankees. I don't know what we do. This is kind of a neat little place right here. You're kind of back at the back edge of the park here, back in the back of the picnic area. And if you walk up this dune a little ways, you can, this is hard walking on dunes. It's kind of neat. I don't know if you can see that on the camera there, but see the little bug tracks where some bug has been, see, they're all through here, has been crawling around in the sand. I'm huffing my way up this with a backpack. I wasn't going to get off in the sand with this backpack on because what's fixing to happen is I'm fixing to sink in just far enough that I'm going to fill my shoes completely full of sand. But Ay, it's hard to climb. You can see little bunny footprints there. We have cottontail rabbits, and then we have these things we call jackrabbits. They're actually not rabbits, and they're hares. And anyway, nobody makes soup out of a jackrabbit, because who wants hair in your soup? Anyway, made it up here. This is kind of a neat place, and right that way you can, way off in the distance, see a sand plant where they're mining sand for fracking. But this is a real cool place. I always like to come. We're having a big lightning storm. I'll clip in some lightning pictures and show you just how cool this is right here. Okay, panning down here, I don't know if you can see this. Cat 1 Nina Victor 3908. So tomorrow it'll have been 11 years since these guys defaced something that belongs to all the people of the state of Texas. And I guess, you know, they figure since it belongs to all the people of the state of Texas, they can write their stuff all over it and everything. But, you know, PSA here. The rest of us like to sometimes enjoy stuff without people scratching and writing their names on it. You know, that was just at least a picnic table is all they wrote on. It's not like they wrote on, you know, rock faces of cliffs and stuff like this, which I have seen happen, and it always disappoints me tremendously when I see that somebody has taken time out of their day to ruin, you know, a natural resource that belongs to all of the people. And so, okay, I'm walking through Penwell, Texas right now, and Penwell, Texas is a ghost town. This is one of those things that, you know, so goes the oil field, so goes a lot of the little towns around here. And back when I was growing up in the 70s out here, the Penwell probably had 3,000–4,000 people lived here. Had a drag strip that you could go out and race cars and stuff. It's pretty cool. And anyway, not much left of it right now. So the only thing I do out here is I walk around out here and take pictures a lot of times, try to kind of preserve some of the old look of the place. And got 2 pictures I've taken out here in galleries right now. So, you know, I mean, it's kind of cool. Right here's kind of an interesting shot. What you see here is the Southern Pacific Railroad and a windmill, which are kind of the 2 things that, if you want to know how did West Texas happen and everything, these are the 2 things that got it started. People came west with railroads, and, you know, once you had railroads coming through, you needed water, and so wherever they could have water, that, you know, towns sprang up. And so anyway, Odessa is the result of one of those. In fact, supposedly, I don't know, the rumor or legend has it that some Ukrainians got off it and said, you know, this looks kind of like home. So they named it Odessa after Odessa, Ukraine. I had a foreign exchange student a few years back, and she assures me that Odessa, Texas looks absolutely nothing like Ukraine. So, okay. I'm up on the Cap Rock right now. I've kind of abandoned the backpack for a little bit, and I'm walking along the railroad track here. I'm going to this kind of cool place. It's where the railroad track, the Southern Pacific or Union Pacific or whoever this thing is, intersects the old Bankhead Highway. And it's kind of a neat little place. I discovered this when I was out taking pictures a few years ago, and I don't know, here I'm gonna shine down ahead. As you can see, it's kind of junky and lots of stuff piled in the way, so you can't really drive down here to this. However, here's the Bankhead Highway, and you can see it stretching off that way, and somebody has piled this old tank here, and then some other somebodies have come along here and shot it full of holes. That's kind of a West Texas thing. I don't know, they go out and, you know, I got to shoot my gun somewhere, and so you pick something like this, which is obviously abandoned metal, and you shoot it a whole bunch of times. So anyway, right here's the cross under the railroad for the old Bankhead Highway, and you notice the stripe here is black. That used to be a signature of the Bankhead Highway, and was one of the ways you knew you were on the Bankhead Highway, was the black center stripe. Okay, now this is a big piece of fairly interesting graffiti right here, and you know, it stretches along and it's like, wow, somebody came all the way down there to this out of the way place to do this. And it's got a real interesting thing up here, and I don't know if you can read this, but it says, my trip by train hop from east to west to California. This is a good place for train hop, just waiting for train. Train has come each 2 hours. Instagram, and then it's got the guy's Instagram name. Well, I looked it up. This guy is like, by the time I looked it up, he was down in like South America and stuff, but he evidently is from Ukraine, and he's driving along, going along here, and see, all this is in like some Russian or something like that. I'm not even sure what any of that says, but he like uses this as a place to hop train. We're kind of at a curve in the railroad track here, and so when I guess the train has to slow down a little bit here and everything. I would be absolutely terrified, because there's absolutely no place to stand next to the track up there that I'd want to get. But anyway, this is kind of interesting, so I thought I'd walk you down here and see. But this is the old historic Bankhead Highway. You can see originally it was cement with its black stripe, and this is the first big highway through West Texas.